In the dim glow of a half-moon, the once cheerful streets of McTown had turned into a sinister labyrinth of shadows. It was Halloween night, and the air was thick with an eerie mist that seemed to whisper secrets of a forgotten past. As children roamed the streets in their festive costumes, collecting treats and laughing, an ominous presence lurked in the alleyways, watching with bated breath. This presence was none other than the horrifying Hamburglar, a figure of urban legend among the locals. Once a mischievous mascot known for his harmless burger thefts, the Hamburglar had transformed into something much darker. Stories told of a figure cloaked in stripes, with a ghoulish grin that glinted under the moonlight, and eyes that burned with a haunting crimson hue. The legend said that every Halloween, the horrifying Hamburglar would emerge, seeking not burgers, but the thrills of terror. He would prowl silently, his footsteps unheard, leaving behind only the chill of dread that clawed at the spines of those who felt his gaze. Some say he was a specter of vengeance, born from the very tales that had made him a mockery, now twisted by the night into a specter of fear. On this particular Halloween, the bravado of the town's teenagers would lead them into the heart of this nightmare. Armed with nothing but flashlights and a thirst for adventure, they dared each other to enter the abandoned burger joint at the end of the street, the rumored lair of the horrifying Hamburglar. As they pushed open the creaking door, the wind howled like the laughter of the damned, as if welcoming them into a story that would chill the bones of those who dared listen. The teenagers' flashlights flickered as they stepped over the threshold, the air stale with the scent of old fries and forgotten laughter. The golden arches that once symbolized joy now seemed to mock them with a sinister bent. They whispered to each other, half in jest, half in genuine fear, their voices barely above a murmur as they ventured deeper into the desolate heart of the restaurant. The walls were adorned with faded murals of happy meals past, but now it seemed as if the characters' eyes followed their every move, painted smiles twisted into silent screams. A soft sound, almost like a patty sizzling, echoed through the empty halls. Was it the building settling, or something more sinister? As they reached the counter, the bravest of the group dared to call out, "Hamburglar, if you're real, give us a sign." The words had barely left his lips when a sudden gust of wind slammed the entrance door shut, plunging them into darkness. Panic ensued as they scrambled for the light of their phones, only to find their batteries drained, their screens lifeless. In the darkness, a chuckle bounced off the walls, low and menacing. The sound of footsteps approached, not from in front, but from all around, encircling them. The teens huddled together, their hearts racing as the footsteps grew louder, closer. Then, silence. A voice whispered, as if from nowhere and everywhere, "Looking for me?" They turned on their heels, and there he stood. The horrifying Hamburglar was not just a costume or a mascot, he was an entity of the shadows. His eyes were indeed crimson, not from any light, but from a glow within, and his grin was wide, too wide, with teeth that seemed far too sharp. He moved toward them, and they could see now that his stripes were not fabric, but something alive, writhing and shifting with a life of their own. "This night, you sought fear," he rasped, "and you have found it." The group found their feet rooted to the spot, unable to run, unable to scream. The Hamburglar reached out with a gloved hand, and as he touched the shoulder of the nearest teen, the boy vanished into a puff of smoke, leaving behind only a small, plastic toy, a grim souvenir. One by one, the horrifying Hamburglar turned them into toys, their final expressions frozen in terror. As dawn approached, the entity retreated into the shadows from whence he came, leaving the abandoned restaurant silent once more. But the legend lived on, the story of the Halloween when the horrifying Hamburglar claimed the bravest souls of McTown. And so, every year, as the moon rises and the mist descends, the children whisper, "Don't venture near the old burger joint, or you too may become part of the horrifying Hamburglar's collection." And on Halloween, the toys seem to whisper back, a cautionary tale of the night when horror became more than just a story. The sun's first rays pierced through the mist, casting a pale light over the forsaken burger joint. The town of McTown awoke to the unsettling quiet, a stark contrast to the jovial festivities of the night before. Parents called out for their children, their voices growing more frantic with each unanswered call. The teenagers were nowhere to be found. As the townsfolk gathered, whispers turned to gasps when they reached the old restaurant. There, in a neat row before the sealed doors, were toys. Each one bore an uncanny resemblance to the missing teens, their painted faces etched with terror. The toys were a silent testament to the night's horrors, and the truth of the horrifying Hamburglar's curse. The legend, once a mere tale to scare children, had woven itself into the fabric of reality. The parents wept, clutching the effigies of their lost ones, while the children looked on in silent understanding. The innocence of the town was shattered, the shadows of the alleyways seemed to laugh at their plight. Years passed, and the story of that fateful Halloween night became a lesson, a warning to all who dared to mock the legends of old. The restaurant remained untouched, attuned to the past and a haven for the curse of the horrifying Hamburglar. As each Halloween approached, an unease settled over McTown. The festivities continued, but with an air of caution. Parents kept their children close, and teenagers dared not whisper challenges into the dark. Some claimed to see a striped shadow flit by their windows, a red glint in the darkness, and a low chuckle carried on the wind. The horrifying Hamburglar had become more than just a story. He was the sentinel of the night, a guardian of a tale that would never be forgotten. On Halloween, when the veil between worlds is thin, the residents of McTown remember the legend, and they pay their respects to the power of stories. For in the end, it is not the burgers that the horrifying Hamburglar craves, but the thrill of the tale, the legacy of fear, and the respect he commands when the line between myth and reality blurs under the haunting glow of the Halloween moon. In the dim glow of a half-moon, the once cheerful streets of McTown had turned into a sinister labyrinth of shadows. It was Halloween night, and the air was thick with an eerie mist that seemed to whisper